what hour your clock strikes here, it's always Halloween, and I'm always your haunted host, Luce Tomlin Brenner. Welcome to Small Frights Friday. On these very special episodes, I like to curate a selection of calls from our All Hallows Hotline and letters from our EEEEK mailbag. But first, I am happy to welcome 3 new Patreon Ghoul Gang members. Thank you so much for supporting the podcast, Nathan, Megan Parrish, and Kathy Monroe. We appreciate you so much for joining and helping us get to 75% funded. Oh, what amazing. We are now only $123 away from our first goal of $500 a month, which is how much it costs to produce this podcast each month. We are so close to fulfilling my wish that we hit $500 by October 1st. So, hey, if you are listening right now and you value this podcast and you find that the work that Pete and I do is worth $1 at least, I've got great news for you. You can actually subscribe to our Patreon at just $1 a month. And then you'll get all these warm fuzzies from supporting 2 queer artists and ensuring that we can keep It's Always Halloween going independent, ad-free, and sustainable. It is truly my wish to not have ads on this podcast. I want to keep it feeling as cozy and down-to-earth as possible, not have big companies bust in. However, I also want to spend more time making this podcast great. And money definitely helps make that possible. So I would love it if it would come in through Patreon and we could just keep it totally independent. But if really big advertising comes in, I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but we've just had such a huge influx of new listeners. Lanterns, welcome. If this is the first episode you're listening to, please go back and start at the beginning. But we're super happy to have you here. But each episode really builds on itself. So it's like really helpful to start from the beginning. Awesome. Welcome. So with such an influx of new listeners, it's just been kind of exciting to fantasize about what the future of the podcast could be and what that could look like. And I have so many ideas and I'm just like waiting for the time to implement them and waiting for the money to buy me the time. So thank you so much for all your support on Patreon. If you're not able to donate, just sharing the podcast with your friends and family, anybody you know who's a Halloween lover like you, sharing it on socials, writing us a nice little review really helps just spread the word and bring more attention to the podcast. And I'm just very thrilled that everybody is here. I'm in great spirits, guys. You know why? Because it is officially September. My goodness, most reasonable people can agree now that this is when Halloween starts. Of course, we all know that it's always Halloween, but there are plenty of naysayers out there who you can actually get on board once it's September. You know, you don't have to explain to the normies anymore that, yes, I love Halloween all year round. Like, I had this really great experience actually last week. I was having dinner with Isaac at one of our favorite taco places in Los Angeles, and I was wearing a Road Montijo t-shirt, one of my favorite artists. Check him out on Instagram. Very sweet, vintage feeling, cheerful, upbeat Halloween decor and pins and t-shirts. He's the inventor of like the Halloween flag. He's the best. So I was wearing one of his t-shirts that says Tricky Trickies on it, and it's a little pumpkin with a cute little face. And after ordering, the counter guy gave us our order number sign to take to our table. And I was so tickled when I saw what number it was. I looked at it and I looked at him and I said, "Hey, Lucky 13. And he just replied, "I thought you'd enjoy that." I did not know this guy. I'd never seen him before, but we just had this connection. It felt so cozy, like I was being seen. And then when we were leaving after dinner, he called out, "Happy Halloween." And I returned the wish. And it just made me feel so happy. There was no like smart aleck observations or weird sarcastic negging that like strangers do sometimes, like observations that don't really say anything, like, "Oh, you got orange hair." Like, I sure do, buddy. This isn't conversation. Or like, oh, you really like Halloween, huh? And like I said, negging, like sort of low-key hostile. And I find those interactions, like, they really make me bristle because it doesn't feel like this person is actually trying to have a conversation as much as like maybe a fight or like an opportunity to make fun. And this interaction with this wonderful person at the restaurant was so pleasant. And this exchange reminded me how fun it is to just be sincere and silly when you're interacting with strangers, because you never know what's going to happen. And just this like short exchange with this guy really impacted me. I've been thinking about it ever since it happened. It made me so happy. And I really just, it's also been so long since we've gone out. And, this was a place that had a big porch patio, so we felt safe eating there. And so there's an element of that too, right? Just like, oh my God, being around people feels so good, hearing music, hearing laughter, humanity. But then, there's been a lot of bad feelings and really intensive violence and death and grief that we've all been through. And just an opportunity to, for once, not argue with somebody over masks. I work in retail, so unfortunately I'm in that position a lot. So to actually just be able to like have this genuine human moment, it just made me so happy. I'm like I'm a part of this neighborhood and I love this restaurant and like we all are so sweet. Like it just felt so good where you're like, humanity has a chance. So I just think this is another reminder of how Halloween can bond us, even in small ways. And while of course being scared and scary things are an element of it, just don't have a scary personality. And that's not me tone policing anyone. Women, people of color, queers, all welcome to be as scary as they want because, life is very scary for marginalized people especially. But I say all of this just to mean like, let's like use Halloween as a way to open doors with each other. If you see somebody wearing something that's like festive and fun, let them know that you like it. Or like if you see that somebody has like a movie shirt or like you're in line for a movie that you both like you can have a little exchange. I know it's hard that we've all been away from each other for a really long time and our social skills may not be as sharp as they usually are. Or maybe you're somebody who's just like, nah, interactions like that are not for me. Totally get it. Don't want anyone to be uncomfortable, but also I do want to encourage you that like there is a lot of kindness and community out there, and you never know what kind of special interaction you're going to have, what type of Halloween moment you could share with a stranger that actually really sticks with you for a long time and makes you feel that spirit, even on days that aren't as good. Like today was a pretty boring day, I would say, for me in general. Just I had so much non-creative work to do. And now getting into the podcast, I'm feeling a lot cheerier, but kind of looking back on this really great experience I had as I was writing about it, I was like, man, what a treat. Like it's really just truly putting such a smile on my face. So just a little anecdote for you to consider going forth as we enjoy the spoils of September and we remember that it's not just about buying things and going to big events and being seen and doing photography, but it's also about making each other feel good. So with that in mind, I am really excited to share a call from one of our new Ghoul Gang members, Miles.
Hey, Luce. Hello, it's always Halloween, people. My name is Miles, he, him pronouns. I live in Portland, Oregon, and have for many years, but I grew up in Seattle, Washington. I'm really excited to be calling in. I found this podcast when you started a year ago, and I always wanted to, but never got around to it. So this year, this feels really exciting. Anyway, I wanted to share some Halloween memories and stories for you all. So I've loved Halloween, like all of us, since I was very young. And for me, it always brings this incredible connection to my inner child and invokes this kind of sense of magic and mystery in the world, which I find so nourishing. But, when I think back, I remember my younger brother and we would really connect when I was in high school in making Halloween decorations. It was just some creative outlet that we connected on, and it was really sweet and fun to do that with him. We'd make dripping wax candles and creepy cloth and foam corpses and stuff, and I had a lot of fun doing that. And it meant so much to me, actually, that when I went off to college, I actually brought some of the Halloween decorations we made with me, and my mom later sent me a box of some of them so I could keep the spirit alive, even though I was new in college and all that. That's how important it was to me. Later, I actually became a resident advisor and had another, kind of purpose to unleash my Halloween insanity upon all of my new residents, which was really fun and well received. I hope that makes me a cool RA. But my senior year as an RA, I had a really embarrassing, funny story that I wanted to tell. We were doing a giant freshman icebreaker activity for like hundreds of incoming freshmen, and for whatever reason I volunteered to show them an example of the activity we were doing. So you were supposed to just say your name, your pronouns, and then something you really liked about yourself, like some inherent quality. So people would say things like, I like that I'm compassionate, or I like my hair. For whatever reason, when they passed me the mic, in front of hundreds of people, mind you, I was overcome, possessed by something, and I said, my name's Miles, and I love Halloween. That's what I said. So it was embarrassing at the time, but in hindsight, you know what? I do love that about myself, and I know the people of this podcast will understand. So thank you so much. Happy spooky season, everyone, and I'm so excited to listen to more.
Miles, thank you so much for this charming call. I love that you said that you were into Halloween for the way that it invokes a sense of magic and mystery. I have often thought that myself, that it makes the world feel much deeper and much more exciting. Like when you're at your desk and you're working for most of the week, you're like, ugh, this again, computers. But then when you think about Halloween and all of the icons and elements of it, you're like, ugh, computers. Oh my God, could that be a ghost over there? What if a ghost is watching me work? And then you work a whole day and you just think about ghosts, and you maybe got to wear like a fun t-shirt with a jack-o'-lantern too, instead of like a stuffy gray suit. Are people wearing suits anymore? Is anyone going into an office? Again, I haven't left my house in years. What it feels like years. And there are no ghosts in my house that I know of, but as I've said in the past, that's okay. I'm not invoking them. I like to usually think about like witchcraft, and then I don't love to think about serial killers. I actually hate it, but my brain is like obsessed with like thinking about all the ways that I could possibly be murdered. So that's kind of fun and Halloween-y too, right? Where I'm like looking to my closet and I'm like, is there space in the very back of my closet for a man to tuck himself into a tiny ball with a giant machete and wait for the cover of night and for me to fall asleep, and then he'd untuck himself and roll out of my closet? And oh God. That's like my fun Halloween thought that I don't have any control over. My brain is 100% in charge of that one. Getting back to the lovely Miles, I am obsessed that you brought Halloween to your college via your RA position. Why wasn't I a student when you were an RA? I would have been so psyched. I remember what my RAs look like, but the only thing I think they did was have like a meeting in the beginning of the year about like not being inappropriate. And then I think they also did like a bulletin board in our hallway that was like, it's September. Here's some facts about September. And that's it. And I live next door to one of my RAs who regularly told me to keep it down, Luce. Why must you blast the Distillers every single day? And to that I said, it's because I am truly a badass. I'm sorry you can't understand how tough and punk I am. And then I went to work for my college radio station where they appreciated my loud music choices. Take that, Tanya. No, I truly don't remember my RA's names. I'm sure they were really great at putting up with way more than they should have. So thank you, Miles, for being an awesome RA. Thank you to the RAs I can't remember for never writing me up for blasting music too loud long into the night. And I love that you were just like, the thing I love about myself is my passion for Halloween. That's awesome. awesome. Like, that is what we should all love about ourselves. And it's only because what I was saying in the beginning of the podcast about how there's like people out there who are like weirdly negging about liking Halloween. Like, listen up. I'm sorry that you don't have any imagination, but this isn't just a holiday, okay? It is a lifestyle. Christmas is a holiday. Halloween is the way I was born. It's a sexuality. No, I'm going too far. I've gone too far. Stop me. All right, I'm being stopped with an EEEEKmail. I have an incredible EEEEKmail here I'm excited to share with you. Okay, so this EEEEKmail is really fun because it's actually a follow-up from Zach, who wrote into us. It's a follow-up to our Halloween mystery song episode titled after Zach's last email, where he was like, how can we find out who sang this song? We can't find it anywhere. Hey, Luce, I finally got a chance to catch up and hear the episode mentioning the mystery song. I was disappointed to discover that you found yourself in the same boat as me, lost in a sea of Google searches. But at the same time, I do feel somewhat vindicated. I would have felt like my mom trying to do anything on a computer if you were able to quickly pinpoint the song after a couple of searches. Oof, what a roast on your mom. You mentioned Shazamming the song, which I had done before, and it too led me to an artist who seems to have no trace of that song on any of her platforms. Her name is Maura Matlack. I don't know how comfortable you feel sharing that or doing what I'm about to suggest, so feel free to skip over this. Zach, I feel very comfortable, and here's why. Because, yes, if you Shazam the song, it does bring up her name, so she is somehow connected to this song, Halloween. So, Zach shares her Instagram, who he tracked down, and says, I did see she has an Instagram, and for someone who is not an IG account holder, maybe I am more like my mom than I'd like to admit. I wondered if you in the podcast community would like to reach out to her. I'm just going to stop Zach right there and say, podcast community, lanterns, I am on this. You don't need to reach out to this poor girl. I don't know why I feel sorry for her. It's something about this song being so unattainable that makes me feel like there's a reason it's being buried, like it has some deep, dark secret. But again, we're having so much fun here because just like Miles brought up, Halloween has a sense of mystery around it. And having a song that like you just can't find anywhere, that's mysterious. Like, this is exactly what we're discussing. So I reached out to Maura on Instagram. You don't need to do it. Let's not bother her. I say this is a Russian nesting doll of EEEEKmails, an EEEEKmail within an EEEEKmail. My gosh, the first time we've ever done this. So I reach out to her and I say, hi, Maura, apologizes. Fully losing my mind now. Hi, Maura, apologize. Oh my God, I'm never going to, apologies. Hi, Maura. Apologies for creeping in and perhaps being one of hundreds asking this question, but are you the artist behind the song Halloween that's featured in How To with John Wilson? I've had multiple listeners write to me asking to solve this mystery because, other than that show, this song is somewhat unfindable. Your name is the only one connected to it. If this is your song, please know thousands of people love it and are desperate to put it on their Halloween playlists. If not, thanks for reading, and many spooky apologies. Take care, Luce. So, I did reach out to Maura. She has not seen this yet. She doesn't seem to post very often. I am hoping that she gets back to me soon. Wouldn't that be exciting? And, Zach goes on to say, again, only reach out if you feel comfortable letting her know that we love her song and that we just want to give her credit. And that's exactly right. We just want to give this artist credit. And hey, maybe she'll send us a digital download or two. Zach goes on to say, we're not alone in this search. I recently dove back into the depths of the online ether and stumbled upon a Reddit post that mentions this song. Apparently, it was used on an HBO show called How To with John Wilson, and someone created a Spotify playlist with all the songs used on that show, barring one glaring and obvious omission. If you look at the comments in the post, people were quick to point out and share their same grievances about how impossible it is to track this song down. How can an entire song that was used on an HBO show be removed from the internet? Yet my MySpace profile pictures from 2006 will still come up if you Google my name? Well, I don't want to take up any more time, but I promise to write back soon with a new topic. I haven't even mentioned the haunted house I lived in during college. More to come, but based on your most recent episode about apple cider, I just want to share that a shot of Fireball in a glass of dry, hard cider is a very quick, easy, and delicious way to get you into the holiday spirit. Cheers, Zach. All right, Zach. Yes, so from the last time we spoke and now, I also discovered that it was on How To with John Wilson, a show that I was obsessed with when it came out and I watched multiple times, and I find to be a very comforting and artistically engaging and thought-provoking show. Has nothing to do with Halloween. It's kind of like if Charlie Kaufman made home movies about New York City. It's very odd and it's very sweet, and it's just, I think it's perfect in that there's nothing like it. Highly recommend for weirdos who like outsider art. Definitely understands that for everybody. Anyways, I was like, that's where I'd heard the song before. So I looked up as much stuff as I could have with How To with John Wilson, and I was like, I must know somebody that worked on this show because I'm also in entertainment. So I put out some feelers. I'm going to put out some more and see if I can get connected to somebody who worked on that show. And I joined a Facebook group. This is how intense this search is now, is that I've been driven to the cesspot of Facebook. I've joined a group of fans of the show. There's only 500 people in the group. I'm waiting for my request to be accepted, and then I'm going to hit them real quick with who knows anything about this song? How can we find it? So listen, we're gonna figure this out, guys. I believe in us. Thank you for the recommendation about Fireball with hard cider. I would not have put that together. Very excited to have some new cider recipes to try. Please keep hitting us with those cider ideas. Absolutely my favorite drink. I think pumpkin beer and cider, my two favorite beverages of the Halloween season. So, Zach, please write back about that haunted house. We will figure this out by the end of this Halloween season. We're going to figure this out. Don't hold me to that. No, hold me to it. I love to be held by things. Thank you so much for writing back in. I'm excited to figure this out with you.
Hey, Luce. First time caller. Really been enjoying the podcast. My name is Derek, and I wanted to share a trick-or-treat memory when I was a kid. So for a couple of Halloweens, when me and my friend were too old to trick-or-treat, so 14, 15 years old, we would hide underneath the street in a storm drain and scare trick-or-treaters. So on one side of the street, you would drop down about 4 feet onto this concrete slab, and there were 2 circular tunnels that ran underneath the road to the other side. So when you crawled all the way through the tunnel, it opened up into a little 6-foot by 6-foot room, and it was not tall enough to stand up in, so you had to crouch. So on this other side, there was a long, skinny gap that looks out onto the street. So think about the opening scene of It with Pennywise. So on Halloween, when trick-or-treaters walked by, we'd reach out and grab their ankles and absolutely scare the crap out of people. And it was really funny. So thought you'd enjoy that little story. Bye.
My goodness, Derek, I enjoy that story very much. That's absolutely terrifying and so wicked in the best way. I love that. Some of my most cherished memories of Halloween were when I was in high school and my friends would come over on trick-or-treat night, and I would stage this elaborate haunted walkthrough, not with props or anything, but I would be okay, Laura, you lie on the driveway over there, and Melissa, you stand behind the bush here, and Erica, you get behind this part of the fence, and I had characters for each one, and when they were going to jump out and what they were going to say when they jumped out. So This is even better though, because at least like trick-or-treaters, like our house was very decorated. They were a little prepared, but this is just like out in the universe, like just through, like in the neighborhood, like not where they're expecting it at all. I bet those kids peed their pants. I would love to, you know what my favorite thing in the world would be? If there was somebody out there that was like, wait a minute, that happened to me. I had my ankle grabbed. And like that experience made them like extra love Halloween, and they were holding on to that memory of you scaring them, but they don't really know you, and then they're connected on this podcast. Wouldn't that be amazing? What a missed connection that would be. Such a delightful story, Derek. Thank you so much. So wonderful to hear from you. All right, up next, we have an EEEEKmail from one of the new Patreon Ghoul Gang members. Hello, Miss Luce. Congratulations on having the best Halloween podcast that I could imagine hearing. Aw, thank you so much. I would like to compliment both you and Pete heavily for your teamwork in creating and maintaining such a wonderfully spooky, lively, and educational show. Every element of it helps me pretend that I'm surrounded by flickering candles in the dark, even while the sun pours into my apartment at the end of August. Believe me, I take full advantage of my strong imagination. Me too, girl. I am additionally doing that. To compliment you a little deeper, I want to mention how valuable I think your kind and open heart is. Oh my goodness, this is so sweet. Your humanitarian passion is quite inspiring, and you should know that spreading that kind of love is more than worthwhile. Good for you. And since I learned on your podcast about your incredible love for VHS tapes, I thought you'd enjoy learning that my brother and I get together every weekend for what he named VHS Saturday, for which he curates a thoughtful stack of horror VHS tapes, which we watch on a small TV VCR combo in his living room. He is a major hobbyist, and not that my intention is to plug, but feel free to check out his Instagram at Home Video Stars. I love plugging other hobbyists, other enthusiasts, anybody with a passion. We need more passion in this world. Plug away. Let's see, she goes on to say, I hope you like it as much as I like you. My last fun tidbit about that is that he's organizing a little more than just a VHS Saturday soon. It will be something he's already named the 31 Tapes of Halloween, and it's absolutely what it sounds like. Happy to support you. Your show is so important, and please do give Pete my praises as well. Thank you so much. You'll most definitely be receiving more EEEEKmails, phone calls, etc. from me, as I deeply appreciate this little band of ghouls that seems to be following your show as consistently as I do. How special it is to hear from regulars. Lastly, I've been spiritually called to a naturalist pagan practice, one of Celtic influence maybe. I welcome the fluid exploration of it. Paganism is boundless, and Ireland has been my dream forever, even while I was too young to process my heart's mysterious intelligence of why I belong there. That being said, how do you think I reacted when you informed us of a true present-day Samhain festival that is completely within reach? Top drawer bucket list material, no doubt. Talk to you soon, Megan. Megan, what an incredible EEEEKmail. Such lovely, kind, generous words, and it really does make me and Pete's heart so full to really hear from people and know that it's that the podcast is bringing you joy and cheer, and it's truly my greatest wish. You know, I've been a stand-up comedian and a comedic performer for over 10 years now, and truly all I've ever wanted to do is just make people laugh and spread joy, because this world is really hard and I just want to make it a little less hard. So hearing from everybody that this podcast is having that impact, I mean, It's all I've ever wanted. So, so your kind words are a gift to me as well. So thank you for that. And a Samhain festival is definitely within reach. I would love to hear, I know we have a few listeners in Ireland, so I would love to hear if anybody has been to a Samhain festival there before, and how fun would it be someday to to broadcast live from Ireland on Halloween. Wouldn't that just be just the bee's knees? I would be so thrilled to get to do that. And I agree, it's definitely on my bucket list. I've never had the opportunity to go to Europe, and just the sheer history that's there. Of course, we're regularly talking about antiquity on this podcast, and just the fact that you can trace so much of Halloween history across Europe. I wish I could take like a whole summer and just do like a Halloween history tour around, just to see things older than what we have in America. America's a very new country, so sometimes the scope is so limited, and it's exciting to think that you could go to Europe and be around stuff that's like thousands of years old. It's totally thrilling. All right. Just real quick too, I just want to say, yes, I love VHS tapes. I've been collecting them my whole life, never stopped. And your brother's account, Home Video Stars, is awesome. And it looks like he does buying and trading as well, which is totally what I'm into also. So I'm really happy to be connected to another tape head and tape collector. And I'm really excited to see what 31 Tapes of Halloween is all about. Now, this is just an aside, doesn't really have to do with Halloween, but there's a fun Instagram challenge, VHS September, that is different VHS tapes every single day, different prompts to, inspire collectors to post their tape collection. So I'm going to be doing that on my personal LTB comedy page. And if there are any other VHS collectors or people who are interested in tapes, check me out there. And let's keep an eye on Home Video Stars and see what he has in mind for us for Halloween. And before we go today, I just want to plug a couple of listeners and friends of the show. First of all, incredible artist Teresa Macabre is a really dedicated Lantern and Ghoul Gang member, and she is an incredible artist, and she just launched a bunch of new prints in her shop today to kick off September. I know that you guys will be obsessed with her Halloween vibes and joy and the creepiness that kind of seeps out of every single print. So check her out, teresamacabre.bigcartel.com. That's going to be in the show notes for everybody. She has a really awesome Happy Halloween print that's scattered across pumpkins, and that's a card that you can get as well, greeting cards. She also has some really cool trick or treat prints, if you're a fan of that film, which I know many of you are. Candy corn ghosts, a scarecrow who is like legitimately scary looking, and a very sweet, thoughtful Halloween witch. She has a number of really great cards as well. So I am 100% positive that her work is going to resonate with you guys, and I would love to encourage you to use your money to support a fellow Lantern. And if we can really let's just trade the same $25 amongst us. What do you say? Like, I'll give somebody $25, they'll give it to somebody else, they'll give it to somebody else, and we'll all just sell our stuff to each other, but we're not really ever losing that money. Why don't we just make our own currency, actually? Let's do pumpkin bucks. Luceo Lantern Lycra. What's the Greek currency? Lira. She got there, folks. Lira. Anyhoozle, check out Teresa Macabre's work. I think you guys are going to like it a lot. And then I want to shout out Jen Curcio, who does the podcast A Touch from the Past. They've been on a bit of a break this year, but a really cool haunted history podcast. She just started a brand new podcast called The Fright Line, which are little 2 to 3 minute ghost stories. And I know how much you guys like the short content, and I think you're going to enjoy The Fright Line. So check out her new podcast. It is going to be linked in the show notes as well, but it's available wherever you find podcasts. And she also does Creepy Crafts Club on Instagram, Creepy Crafts Club. And I just got a fun little Krampus pin from her. She has these really great enamel pins called Christmas Creatures. And I know it's always Halloween and it's never Christmas except on April Fool's Day. But I think the exception that we can make for Krampus is pretty big because he is a spooky dude. And this is like a really cool pin. So check out Jen Curcio's work. I think you guys are really going to enjoy it a lot. She recently gifted me with this really great book I wanted to recommend as well called Tiny Nightmares, which is a collection of horror short stories. And if you are subscribed to Patreon Ghost Stories, you're in for a treat because this month I'll be reading some stories that came from this book. So all good things, all exciting things. It's officially Halloween, and man, does it feel good. I want to hear from you guys. Yes, the EEEEKmail box is filling up and the lines are ringing off the hook, but keep your stories coming. Don't let that stop you. I listen to everything. I'm organizing everything. Actually, a couple people reach out saying that they were interested in being interns, and I need to respond to your EEEEKmail still, so hang tight. And I've had some questions about this. So what I'm looking for with interns is I need to go back through all of these Small Frights episodes and catalog everything that we've talked about. Because I want to have a list, basically, of like all of the books, all the movies, and have that be available and accessible, and also so I can cross-reference when people call, so we're not talking about the same things over and over, and I can easily pull up an episode to reference. And we have over 50 episodes now, so that's many hours of listening that I can't do on my own. So that's what I've decided I need some help with. And if that interests you, listening to, 5 to 10 episodes maybe, and writing everything down that I talk about, putting it into a spreadsheet that I've put together, hey, reach out. Let's put this together. That would be fun. Would it? It would be. Okay. You guys, give us a call if you want to share any of your Halloween memories, any recommendations. The number for the hotline is 802-532-DEAD, or you can drop us that EEEEKmail at itsalwaysHalloweenpodcast@gmail.com. As I said at the top of the episode, if you love It's Always Halloween, please subscribe at patreon.com/itsalwayshalloween, or make a one-time donation using our tip jar. You can sponsor an episode for just $30. You can also support It's Always Halloween by buying our merch on Redbubble. That link is in our show notes as well. And this episode of It's Always Halloween was performed by me, Luce Tomlin Brenner, with help from your fellow lanterns, Zach, Derek, Megan, and Miles. Of course, we could not have done this without the incredible editing and sound design by Pete Burns. Thank you so much, Pete. Make sure to follow the podcast at It's Always Halloween Podcast on Instagram. You can follow me at LTB Comedy and Pete at Mitten Berries. If you're on Apple Podcasts, please subscribe and write us a little review so that other like-minded ghouls can find us. We got a really great one this week that I want to share with you now. The headline is "So Happy I Came Across This Podcast," and it's written by NetXNick. I came across this podcast through a recommendation on a Halloween subreddit, and now it's a part of my regular listening rotation. This podcast gives me all the cozy, comfy, delightfully spooky feels, and it's just what I needed to satiate my Halloween cravings in the middle of the summer. I really appreciate that the episodes are released year-round, too. I'm still catching up on the older ones. I love listening to the EEEEKmails, the symbolism and history of all things related to Halloween, the food suggestions, and all the spooky stories. Luce is a very soft-spoken, inclusive, and funny host. If you're a Halloween lover at all times of the year, definitely give this podcast a listen. Thank you so much for that review, NetXNick. The very first person who's ever called me soft-spoken, so bless you. Teachers from K to college are guffawing at that, as I was the child who was constantly being sent home with the report that said, Luce is very social. Luce won't shut up in class. I have to tell Luce to stop talking many times. Luce is disruptive. Luce won't stop joking. Luce is spitting on her classmates. Listen, it was one time and it was a friend of mine and we thought spitting was funny. We were going through a phase. Thank you so much for this lovely, lovely review. And these types of reviews really help legitimize the podcast, because when people are searching for Halloween podcasts, they see we have a lot of reviews and they're like, oh, cool. This person isn't out of their mind. They have a real podcast. Little do they know, I am out of my mind, but it is a real podcast. So thank you for everyone who has left a review. It's a free and easy thing you can do to help us out. We're also on the NPR One app, so subscribe there and please, please tell my hero, Ira Glass, that you love us. Thank you so much for listening to yet another episode of It's Always Halloween. And please come back next time, unless someone reaches up out of the gutter and grabs your ankle.